Can butter be used for fat loss? Well, I think so. Not necessarily directly, but it can be part of a diet that is quite conducive to losing fat. The one that we're supposed to be eating as a species, it's really funny how people still fail to understand that every single species of animal, including human beings, has one diet for its speciation with very minimal variation, okay? And we know what that diet is. If you're a new viewer and you don't, you can check it out in my book, Contraindicated. Second edition out now, link in the description below. But you can also find out by binging my channel as well, or, getting a clue with this reaction video here to Jacob Foods. Jacob Foods, MS dietetics student, so completely indoctrinated ideologue, a Bachelor of Science in Food and Nutrition. So basically what he is saying there is that he's indoctrinated by the mainstream medical institutions, because we obviously know that dietitians are bought and paid for. There are billions of dollars from pharmaceutical industries, from big pharma, from medical industries that are dumped into universities, particularly in the dietetics, nutrition, medical departments. Okay, that's a fact, whether people like that or not. Okay, big food has a role to play there. All right, so with that being said, Jacob decided to make a video responding to someone else talking about how butter is great for fat loss. So we're going to look at both of their claims because, frankly, I have no patience for tribalism. It's exhausting. I don't care what side you're on. Every single person can make wrong claims. Every single person. I don't like this whole thing where it's, oh, well, I have to cater to this side because I'm in the carnivore space. That's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Okay? Ever. Now, people might think that's me just being a contrarian in order to aggrandize myself in a way that makes me, look better than everyone else. It's sort of an ego thing. Okay, well, you know what? If you think that, that's fine. But I don't care. As long as what comes out of my mouth is the truth. So, with that being said, we're going to jump directly into this. I've had a very long day dealing with these morons. This has probably been my worst day recording videos, and I'm not saying that as a sort of give me some pity or anything like that. I'm saying it just for entertainment purposes. Just like, oh, wow, today was really that bad? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I just reacted to Jacob Foods doing a collaboration with OB Fitness or obhealth.fit or whatever. That was infuriating. So anyway, we're going to see what he has to say. It's going to be wrong. We already know that, but we're going to see how wrong it is. Okay? Anyway, let's waste no further time. Start the screen recording here and get going.
If you want to lose weight, eat butter.
Okay, well, first of all, he already started talking. So just one claim, but fine. Whatever. So weight, the word weight, we need to be very careful with that because you can cut your leg off and lose weight. Just because you lose weight doesn't necessarily mean it was healthy. The outcome was healthy. It doesn't mean that you needed to lose weight. It doesn't mean that it was in the form that was the best to be lost by the body. If you lose muscle, that's not good. If you lose fat, usually that is good, but sometimes it is also not good because you need a certain level of fat on your body. There's a lot of things that need to be considered. Losing water weight, almost always a good thing. Again, there is a certain level of water that we have to have on our bodies too, though. It's all something that needs to be considered. Usually, it's losing fat that is the thing that needs to be done. And the great thing about adopting a species-appropriate, species-specific diet is that you don't have to think about that. It happens naturally. Your body composition regulates itself to what it is supposed to be, genetically speaking, okay? And it is not overweight and obese, okay? Because no one is supposed to end up like that. No animal is supposed to end up like that. So, anyway, the next part of her claim was butter. It can be used, sure, but that's not a great message to be sending. You need to eat a species-appropriate, species-specific diet, or at least you ought to. I should stay away from the words need, because no one needs to do that at all. No one needs to do that whatsoever. But I recommend it. That being a 100% carnivore diet consisting primarily of the flesh and associated fat of large ruminant animals, with added fat to taste in the forms of butter, tallow, lard, suet, and ghee, added salt to taste, and water, transitioning appropriately over the course of 6 to 8 weeks, slowly, and also making sure to consume sufficient protein for your requirements in a given day, and also in one given bolus as well for a sufficient insulin response to initiate or effectuate sufficient anabolic activity to maintain processes in the body that require an anabolic state to be maintained. Electrolyte function, electrolyte maintenance, thyroid hormone function and production, all of those things, okay? There is some variation depending on who you are. Maybe you do better with 20 grams of carbs, but I think that's the cutoff. There is no requirement as a general rule for carbohydrates in the human diet. They are not required because of gluconeogenesis, and also particularly our efficiency for it, because the presence of gluconeogenesis does not tell us whether or not an animal needs carbohydrates or not. Okay, every animal has gluconeogenesis, and some animal, even ones that require carbs, it's our efficiency for it. And above a certain physiological concentration within the bloodstream that is most conducively achieved by consuming the damn thing is toxic, i.e. diabetes, a disease explicitly and exclusively characterized as chronically elevated blood glucose and nothing else. So anyway, that's a great propitious way of losing fat. Again, and also other forms of weight like water, if you have water retention from lots of insulin activity or insulinogenic activity. So anyway, let's see what Jacob the idiot has to say.
To this video as someone who's studying to be a dietitian.
Butter.
Oh, great. You're going to react to this video as someone who is training or studying to become a dietitian. Wow. So is that your cell? Is that actually your cell? Because that's a problem. It's only a cell to absolute ignorant, obsequious, vacuous morons that wander through the world aimlessly with no thoughts in their brain. It's just a vacuum in their brains.
Food, and it will not make you fat.
Butter will absolutely.
Well, butter may make you fat, but really, it's not butter itself. It's a whole composite thing. If you're eating only butter, are you really going to get fat? No, you're probably going to get really skinny and emaciated because you're not consuming any protein. It can help you lose fat in a diet that is properly tenured and properly fortified in terms of its indication level in our diet. Sure. But anyway, this guy says butter will absolutely make you fat if you overeat it. Wow. Thanks for telling us, Jacob. If you overeat anything beyond what is required for your body, that's the key, then sure, you very well may get fat. The difficulty in getting fat when consuming no carbohydrates to speak of, however, is quite low, physiologically speaking, considering insulin is the primary and prototypical anabolic hormone. You would know that since you lift weights. I'm sure you know all about insulin, except that's giving way too much grace. No, he doesn't.
Fat if you overeat it, but the same goes for any type of fat or any type of food in general.
Yes, great. So what's your point? What was the point of that comment?
Many valuable nutrients such as stearic acid, which improves mitochondrial health in humans.
No, there's no evidence to support that it improves mitochondrial health in humans. Ma'am, I'm sorry. The science that you're talking about is absolute nonsense. Dietary stearic acid regulates mitochondria in vivo in humans. Let's look at that study just for fun. Regulates mitochondria in vivo in humans. Also, define regulates. It's not me being a contrarian. It's me being logically consistent. Hence, we first asked subjects to eat for 2 days a low-fat vegan diet, which is low in C8. That's not sufficient. 2 days on a vegan diet bereft of stearic acid to bring everyone to a low C18-0 baseline, regardless of their habitual diet. Well, that's just silly, isn't it? Is that enough time to cause a phenotypic adaptation? And also, these people had different genotypes. They are not genetically identical. We then asked the subjects to drink a banana milkshake containing 24 grams of C18, roughly equivalent to the amount of C18 present in 200 grams of milk chocolate. What was the point? To assay mitochondrial morphology, we chose to study neutrophils because, unlike tissues, blood can be obtained in a minimally invasive manner, and neutrophils are the most abundant blood cell type that has mitochondria. Okay? We took one basal blood sample prior to the 2-day low C18 diet, one blood sample directly prior to the C18 drink, and then 2 samples at 3 and 6 hours after C18 ingestion. The 3 and 6 hour time points were select. So did you actually not have them consume C18 in isolation? Stearic acid in isolation? What else is in a banana milkshake? Is that what that was? A banana milkshake? Wow. This is an absolutely atrocious study, isn't it? So it's reductionist. This is what science is today, guys. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So no, it did not show to improve mitochondrial function. It did not show that. False. Absolutely false.
It supports your metabolism, increasing insulin sensitivity.
Well, you can increase insulin sensitivity by not being over fat, by not having a maximum hypertrophy of fat cells. You can also do it by not consuming large amounts of carbohydrates and fats together in a mixed meal scenario. You can also improve it by reducing inflammation because you enhance redox potential that way, which is basically measured by the NAD to NADH ratio.
Reference compared people who went from a vegan diet to either drinking chocolate.
They didn't go from a vegan diet at all. They went from eating 2 days of a low-fat vegan diet to either drinking chocolate milk or a banana milkshake. No, to drinking a banana milkshake. Oh my God, he didn't even convey the study properly. It wasn't either a chocolate milk or banana milkshake. They said it was roughly equivalent to the amount of stearic acid present in 200 grams of milk chocolate. You idiot.
Banana milkshake, and neither of those are butter, so I don't think that's very relevant. Also, it's not.
Yeah, exactly that too.
To say that because butter contains stearic acid, and stearic acid causes an effect on mitochondrial function.
But it doesn't. At least the study didn't show that. Okay?
Therefore, it improves your own metabolism and your insulin sensitivity.
Yeah, it isn't fair. It isn't fair at all. That's ridiculous. It's reductionist. It's failing to understand that there are multiple different things in butter that can interact with stearic acid in such a way as to render it useless, potentially, in this regard. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm saying there's things that need to be considered that weren't considered, okay?
To know what butter does to your health, you look at studies where people are consuming more butter or more saturated.
No, because this study doesn't show anything either. Our main findings were that the incidence of obesity, incidence, great, cool, in abdominal obesity after 6.3 years was slightly higher in participants consuming a dietary pattern positively correlated with saturated fat intake and negatively correlated with PUFA intake. Was this, if it was 6.3 years, it was a prospective cohort study, so an epidemiological study that only informs upon associations, not to mention that you are not reporting the strength of the associations, so the differences between the two groups, the two cohorts, or depending on, it depends on how many cohorts there are, but I'm assuming 2 cohorts. You also are failing to understand that most epidemiological studies are performed on very aged populations in order to ensure the occurrence of deaths in the studies. The study's results can only be extrapolated to the group studied because of genotypic and phenotypic differences. You're also failing to understand that this is based on respondent data. People lie, people forget. It's a bunch of nonsense. Sometimes the respondent data is basically derived from food frequency questionnaires that are only distributed, sometimes in a study that I was just reviewing, every 4 years, okay? Doesn't matter. It also fails to consider that there are multiple different confounding variables there that influence the results. 100%. There's no question about that. They engage in different activities. They grew up in different areas. They live in different areas. It's just absolute nonsense. And not to mention that saturated fat is only one element of these people's diets. Healthy user bias and unhealthy user bias play a role here. You are using this as an example of an actual study to use instead of the one that she referenced. Both of them are You're Stop making content now, today. What's next?
Stearic acid has also been shown to prevent breast cancer formation in
No, it hasn't, because prevent is a cause and effect statement. We're done. We are absolutely done. I'm not looking at the study. We're done.
And in human cell cultures.
Oh, so she says, and in rat models and in human cell cultures. So absolutely off with that. I'm done. I'm done. We're done.
Rats and cultured human cells are not human bodies.
Correct. But you know what, Jacob? I guarantee that if you found a study that you wouldn't be able to interpret clearly, because you've just shown that you weren't able to interpret the study that you just put up on the screen to support your point, I guarantee that if you saw studies like this, you'd cite them too. And you'd flash them up on the screen for half a second and basically make people think that you're an authority figure that understands how to interpret science because you looked up a paper in PubMed based on headlines and keywords in the abstract. You don't know how to read these studies. You don't know statistical inference. We're done. So frankly, it's rich hearing this from you. I have a right to say it.
Look at research on humans. This study shows
Yeah, you can look at research on humans. So this study shows, so a meta-analysis, a systematic review and a meta-analysis. So a meta-analysis, that means that it's an analysis of multiple different studies. So then we have to look at the integrity of all of the other studies, because if you combine a bunch of studies into one major study, then the study is a meta-analysis that means even less than the individual studies do. It's amazing. So, dietary fat and breast cancer mortality, a systematic review. Okay, so what this is another set of prospective cohort studies, and I just covered prospective cohort studies. We're done.
risk for passing away if you have breast cancer and are eating.
Oh, passing away. Oh, let's be gentle. Passing away. Oh, yes, let's be anodyne. Okay, so let's see. Hazard ratio equals 1.51. So really what that's referring to is an incidence rate expressed as a ratio, p of less than 0.01. So this is what I mean by statistical significance does not necessarily represent practical or clinical significance in the real world, because it doesn't. That's just bullshit. That's really just a bullshit study, isn't it? Jacob, you are going to school not to learn how to interpret science. You need to understand that, sunshine. Boy. And you need to shut down your page.
Saturated fat, but most studies show no to minimal increased risk from higher saturated fat intake.
No, they don't show any risk, because risk is a cause and effect statement. There are no studies to inform upon the risk of any hard health outcome or disease process as it relates to any aspect of human nutrition over any given period of time throughout the entire time human nutrition science has existed. There never has been and there never will be. Because in order to do that, you have to perform a study that can inform upon cause and effect, which requires you to take two genetically identical twins, both phenotypically and genotypically identical, separate them at birth, put them into two metabolic ward lock-in rooms, observe them over their entire lives if attempting to infer lifelong health outcomes, 40 years for 40-year-long health outcomes, etc., and control for every single variable, including the time they wake up, the time they go to bed, their stress levels, their hormone levels, etc., and only vary the variable that you're studying. It's implausible for obvious reasons. It wouldn't get past an ethics committee because it's unethical, and it's also too expensive. And the kicker is that even if you were able to do all of that, you still can't extrapolate the results to any other genotype or phenotype. Yeah, that's the kicker, isn't it? That's a great kicker. So it's not possible.
developing breast cancer, they definitely don't show a significant decrease in risk.
What do you mean by significant? Do you mean statistically significant, or do you mean subjective interpretation of significant? Because that matters. When you're reporting science, if you say significant, you're referring to statistical significance, sunshine.
Butter also contains vitamins such as vitamin K2, which supports cardiovascular health.
There's more.
Okay, all vitamins support overall health because it's required for overall health, but fine, okay.
K2 in an egg yolk than there is in a tablespoon of butter.
Okay, fair enough, fine.
So unfair to say that butter is better for cardiovascular health because of K2 when really it increases your cholesterol. Which
No, not necessarily, Jacob. It doesn't necessarily increase your cholesterol, okay? Absolutely false. And even if it is the case that it does that, cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease, Jacob. Because if it were, then you would have plaque accumulate in all areas of the vascular system, including veins, when you don't see it in veins, unless the vein is introduced into a high pressure area of the vascular system via a surgical bypass situation. Okay, there's a hint. And also, not only would it occur in the entirety of the vascular system, but it would also occur as a blanket when it doesn't. It occurs in set sites, those set sites being predictable sites because of the fact that it is the same sites, they are the same sites, that exhibit the most turbulent blood flow exacerbated by hypertension. They are the high pressure areas of the vascular system that exhibit the most turbulent blood flow. Atherosclerotic plaque is largely composed of scar tissue that can become calcified at later stages, become unstable and rupture, then forming a clot and causing thrombi, blood clots. Okay? The amount of cholesterol that is contained within atherosclerotic plaque is 1 plus or minus 1%, Jacob. We are done with this bullshit. Not to mention that the entire lipid heart hypothesis was founded on lies. That was proven in 2015. Now, on a purely logical basis, just because an idea came to the forefront because of lies doesn't necessarily mean that the idea in and of itself is false. However, it's a pretty damn good inference that if you have to lie to get something to be popular, that it wasn't true to begin with. Because if it were, why didn't you just refer to the truth behind the matter and behind the idea? It's just a bunch of bullshit.
At risk for heart disease.
No, it doesn't. We already covered it. False. You're a imbecile. And you're a child.
Addition of dietary dairy fats has been shown to increase weight loss and leanness in women.
So again, with just the mudslinging studies, that's what this is. Mudslinging studies. Bah, 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 bah. That don't mean anything.
Didn't read the entire study she cited, but just look.
And even if you did, Jacob, it doesn't matter. Increased consumption of dairy foods and protein during diet and, okay, so multiple things. During diet and exercise induced weight loss promotes something mass loss and lean mass gain in overweight and obese premenopausal women. Premenopausal women, so hormonal, overweight and obese. Okay. And also multiple interventions here, and they still weren't controlled because you can't do that for human beings, and they're different genes. And also, I'd love to see the sample size and therefore the subsequent signal to noise ratio. And I'd love to see it expressed in both, in the standard deviation and not the standard error. So.
Title, you can see that dairy fats plus protein in an exercise program.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, you're starting to really learn how to interpret studies well. Good job, Jacob.
Do more leanness, which is that surprising?
And you won't get fat eating butter because it works.
Well, but that's too convicting. You can get fat eating butter. That's not true.
Hunger signals to increase satiety.
You will.
Okay, it does have... Oh my God, I absolutely cannot stand this fast-paced content. I can't do it. I really can't. You guys have probably noticed I stopped doing that. There's cuts, but it is not this fast-paced. And it's sped up. Look, it's no offense to people that actually enjoy that approach and it helps them. I'm not that guy. And it's really bad for my reaction videos because there's a lag, there's a buffer period where when I unpause the video, there's noise that's lost from the audio. And then I have to pause it in another second, which makes me lose. It's like I'm not even reacting to a video. Anyway, yes, butter has fat in it that will stimulate satiety. It's true. That is true. It has glucagon signaling effects.
If you eat too many calories from fat.
No, you can't eat calories, Jacob, and we already covered it. You don't eat calories. There's no calories in food. The calorie number on food labels is how many calories would be yielded from that food if you combusted it in a bomb calorimeter. And not only that, it's with a plus or minus 20% error because you can't measure calories released. You estimate them.
It's also pretty satiating, and that's because it takes a while to go through your digestive system.
Yes, that too, but also it's hormonal signaling effects.
If you do gain weight from eating too much fat, it can lead to more regulation of hunger hormones because you have more body fat, which produces more leptin, which is a hormone that tells you...
Yes, leptin. Oh my God, it tells you there's not to eat, but then you can become leptin resistant, Jacob, if you actually understood physiology.
Hungry.
For women looking to lose weight or improve your metabolic health or increase your insulin sensitivity, start by focusing on the quality of your food and not the quantity. So eat whole food.
Yes, correct. Also, whole foods is a meretricious term. Eat an indicated species-appropriate, species-specific diet for your speciation. And we already covered what that is in the beginning.
Create healthy fats like butter.
So her
Yep. Okay, so healthy is another sort of, that's an opinion. I believe that opinion to be true. But she made a video that is misleading. I'm sorry. If we want the quality of nutrition science and all this stuff and nutrition rhetoric to improve, we cannot be exclusive and tribal. The video that she just posted is the exact same style of video that every health influencer posts. I'm sorry. It is.
eating higher quality food is eating high-fat ground beef with it.
Correct. Yes, and that's her opinion. And, well, it's most congruous. It's more congruous with our species-appropriate, species-specific introductions and inductions, historically speaking.
Butter melted into it.
Yes, correct.
Worry about the quality rather than the quantity.
Yes, correct.
Quantity of calories in that meal is extremely high.
No, it isn't. It's at 0, okay? High is a relative term. It can't be high or low if the level doesn't fluctuate. It's always 0. Jacob, learn some physics.
Not going to do any favors for anyone who's trying to lose fat.
Yes, it is. That's your opinion, Jacob. You're an absolute moron, and you need to shut down your channel. You need to shut down your page. We do not need more people like you in this space. We really don't. Ridiculous video, once again, exactly what I expected. If you guys have noticed that I'm a little more erratic today, it's because of exactly what I said in the beginning. I have witnessed the most stupidity that I have ever witnessed on this channel today. And perhaps it's not exactly the quality of the stupidity, the degree of the stupidity, but the quantity of stupidity that I've had to deal with today. It's bad. But fortunately, this was the last reaction video for the day. And there we go. Got to record 2 more videos that are going to be me talking to you guys, which will calm me down quite a bit. With that being said, just one more note here. This guy, I believe, is a coach. He at least works with coaches. And we need more coaches in the space that actually know what they're talking about. Like I said, we need less of him, but just because we need less of people like him does not mean that will actually happen. What we need is people to actually stand up against this nonsense. So we need more coaches in the space. And fortunately, there is a way to become internationally certified as a coach, which is different than just being able to call yourself a coach, which you can do. I can call myself a coach right now if I wanted to. I could. It's legal. No actual legal credentials are required. They're not required. However, if you become internationally certified, it is easier for you to get things like insurance for your clients or for you, to protect yourself. And it's easier to get a lot of other things. And you will actually be recognized. You'll have a title to your name. And I think it's important. I really do. To have coaches that actually know what they're talking about. And there is an opportunity for you to learn from an amazing program that I have the privilege of being affiliated with Carnivore Coach Peter. He heads the course. He heads the program. His socials are linked in the description below for you to get a hold of him. Just tell him how you heard about the program. He will negotiate, a plan with you, and he'll tell you all the details that you need to know about it. I interviewed Coach Peter recently. I'll link that in the top right corner of the screen. Very good coach, very nice guy, and I think that everyone would benefit from interacting with him and me as well. You can earn the opportunity to have a consultation with me through the course, talking about all the things that I talk about in the course. I contributed 4 modules to the course as well, talking to me about anything that was included that I talked about in the program. I contributed 4 modules to the program, so I did invest quite a bit of time into that. So anyway, with that being said, I'd love to have you as a part of the program because I am in the program. I am in the chats and everything. I'm in the community, and it's a very good community. So with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, nevertheless, subscribe to the channel, leave a like as well, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, once again, buy my book, Contraindicated, a closer look and revision of mainstream health axioms that have perpetuated illness, disorder, and disease for over a century. And subscribe to the Patreon if you haven't already as well, to gain access to 1 week early uploads, ad-free content, uncensored content, and an exclusive Discord server. So with that being said, join me next time when we react to someone else that doesn't understand anything about anything. So let's just leave it at that. Till then.